State Representative Jackie Chan of Quincy is not in Austin, Texas anymore. He's back in his dining room in Quincy. Hey, Jackie.
Morning, Joe. Welcome back to my dining room, everyone, and glad to not have a remote tacky, but I will promise you at some point we'll time another educational visit or a tour of a facility outside of my living room and take you another field trip on a different day.
Yeah, I look forward to that. And it was actually kind of fun to talk to you while you were at a different location. It worked out well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, it was good Wi-Fi. I mean, it was Google headquarters, so that was kind of a given. It was just really logistics, of course, getting my little cell phone camera set up, properly, and I had the earbuds for the first time. You've seen me use those, and a couple of just little logistical issues to make the lighting, everything work. Most people don't realize if you're watching this that the background lighting matters a lot on Zoom, and trying to find the right angles. And obviously, I'm in a workplace, so I'm not supposed to be, have people working their day jobs behind me on film. So I had to make sure that the Google privacy stuff is correct for their own employees because it's not part of the show. And but I mean, even without Wi-Fi, I mean, 5G network makes a huge difference. We did in Hingham in the parking lot in Hingham. I mean, there's a 5G network. Again, a little bit of jerry rigging in the car, but high speed cell phone signals, and I do know there's some congestion here and there if I've experienced myself, but high speed 5G signals really do make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. And it worked out well. So, but now you're back home and hard at work. I know up late last night at the State House.
Well, I mean, I got home. We closed session last night around 1. Thankfully, I live in Quincy, so after I packed up and said goodbyes to folks. I mean, I was home, probably 1:40-ish. And other members unfortunately had to drive 4 hours home last night, and hopefully some smarter ones or wiser ones, more likely, who've been around long enough know to get at least a one-night hotel room, as opposed to try to drive back, 4 hours in some cases. And this job is a lot of hurry up and wait. It's part of the start, stop. I talk about a lot as we close in on the end of a formal session period. It's just a lot of like red light, green light scenarios. So last night was no different. We were able to pass a bill on long-term care facility regulations, meaning that we're going to provide greater oversight and regulatory construct for the long-term care assisted living facilities, which are an issue that came up as part of COVID. We discovered how much problems there were. Administration, Baker administration, that created a lot of regulations. For example, they created no more than 2 bed per room space, for example, and they also require a certain level of distancing between beds, and updated their regs on facilities regarding standards of internal infrastructure standards, like training, medical supplies, sanitation, things like that. But also created a circumstance where, like Quincy Rehab, for example, is a victim of that regulation, where they were doing triple, quadruple beds, and as a result, it was impossible to maintain the economic structure because they couldn't get enough beds in to maintain the facility, which was one of the reasons they closed, not the sole reason. And it's actually a good thing that we did this. I mean, it's a much needed in-depth dive by Tom Stanley, the chairman of Elder Affairs from Waltham. So Stan has spent not just this year, but also the prior session, trying to put a plan together. So many people think it's like, oh, you do this in 2 months. Well, no, in Tom's case, he's been looking at this for over 2 years. Mm. And it took, one full session of research to get to the beginning of this session to get a plan on the table for us to look and vote on yesterday.
Yeah, it's great. It's much more dignified care for patients and more comfort for their families to know that they're in safer facilities now.
Absolutely. And also try to get rid of some opaqueness of the facilities also, because one of the things most people don't realize is that a lot of these facilities are owned by, big venture capitalist groups or hedge funds or, other large corporations under 5 different shell companies. And I don't want to get into accusations, but I do know that are not. For example, I mean, some of the ones, like there's a German one out there that is not part of a hedge fund. I mean, South Cove Manor here is not part of a hedge fund. But not surprising, some of these big companies come out of places like Florida, which is a lot of senior citizens, right? And they have a lot of assisted facilities, they're for-profit organizations, and they just buy up other ones around the country. And It's and you ask why would you want to buy one of these? It's very labor intensive, high liability. It's really about Medicare and Medicaid money. The Medicare money, the Mass Health money, guarantees a margin.
Yeah, exactly. It's guaranteed, right? So it's worth it for them to do that. Speaking of Medicaid tech, I was looking at the 2.8 billion supplemental budget proposal. I was surprised that the huge percentage of that, the bulk of it, is for Mass Health, right?
Yeah, federal reimbursement.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Mass Health. You guys know it's Medicare, Medicaid. It's very confusing when I tell people this because people keep thinking Mass Health is like something that is not. Most people that are you're on Medicare, you're on Mass Health. It's called Medicare, Medicaid, and it's like California. It's called Cal Health. There's also
Okay.
Medicaid. Some people always think it's two different programs. The program is administered by the state but funded by the feds with a matching share by the state. And if we don't provide a match, there's no funding from the feds. So, our budget, I think our budget's closing on 35% of the budget is Mass Health.
Wow. Okay. So, but that's matched by the feds.
Yeah, 35%, 50% that's Fed match.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Which again, $32 billion budget.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, the biggest, I guess, headline from the supplemental budget is the 250 million for the emergency shelter system that is still in limbo.
Yeah, Lord. I mean, I know people are upset about this issue regarding funding emergency shelters. We talked about this last week as well. I mean, they're not all migrants. There was already a large share. I talked to my other colleagues yesterday in Worcester. There's already a large share of people who are in state that qualify for emergency shelter. A lot of was response to the end of the rental moratorium last November. 1 year ago is coming. Actually, 1 year now is the end of the COVID moratorium of rents, which then started the eviction process, which includes a lot of children and women. And the result, they end up in the emergency shelter program as they're trying to work towards permanent housing. So, and of course, a lot, if you know anything about our housing programs, I mean, they're at capacity. They've been at capacity for over a year. So between the hyperinflation, wage growth, rental price go up and nothing matching up when the growth together. And the end of the moratorium, we already had been taking a large number of families into emergency shelter. The migrants just added to the problem that already existed, and no one wants to talk about that. And as I like to say, it's a portends of the next year's economy. There's more families in Massachusetts enter emergency shelter. It's a portends of what the economy is heading next year, which is not a good sign.
Yeah,
you can't pay rent. Chances are pretty good you're not paying for other things.
Right. Yeah, you're right. That's not talked about a lot. So that's important to note, right? Half of these folks are Massachusetts residents who've lived in the state a long time.
Yes. 7,500, give or take, families, half of those are Massachusetts residents. And, one of the things about Right to Shelter is the fact that we very often don't see kids living on the streets in your neighborhoods. Very rarely you find it. If we ignore Mass and Cass, which is a special situation, which is a continuing problem for Mayor Wu. If you follow the news, cleaning people out of a geographic zone just meant they went to a different geographic zone, near the same geographic zone. But in terms of what it means to us, in downtown Quincy or not, I mean, we do see people who are homeless, in downtown Quincy, but you don't often find pregnant women. You don't often find children that are homeless in downtown, and that's because of Right to Shelter.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's mostly adult men and women that I see.
Yes, let's say you don't find pregnant women, you don't find children. So that is what the Right to Shelter law is about. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of lost in the conversation because until you actually put it out there, as I like to say all the time, I always say the things that sound obvious because I don't know if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing.
Right.
And my friends give me crap for it all the time. Because why are you saying something we all see? Because, my friends. But, but then you go around and think about it for a second. If you're walking outside and whether in Boston Common, which is, has homeless persons out there as well, and down Quincy Center, take a look at who they are. Just don't kind of walk by them and act like they're invisible. and you're gonna see what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, I work right in the heart of Quincy Center, so I see it all the time, every day, actually. And you're right. Mostly they're keep to themselves, respectful, not causing any problems.
Yeah, that is generally the case. And you look at their age and gender; they're adults, and there are no children.
Right, exactly. So explain what happens now, because now you go into informal session. Is that right?
Yeah, formal sessions ended yesterday. You know, as I said, we were out late last night, waiting, night of waiting. And as a result, under the rules, formal sessions are over. And then we start with informal sessions. Informal sessions means we can still move a bill out of the chambers if there's no objection. One person objects or causes a quorum, then the session ends and all activity in the session is considered null and void. So we can still pass the supplemental budget provided nobody objects. And, that happens. They just formed a conference committee last night. But that's how we knew a deal could have been done, could not have been done as soon as we heard conference committee. So as a result of disagreement to bills, the House and Senate appoints 3 members of each branch to a conference committee. This case being the chair Ways and Means leading the conference committee in both branches. And hopefully they're able to reach a resolution soon. And if the branches are assured that no member will object, they can do it out. They can move it out in a voice vote. What is real life to people? Well, I'm going to have a whole lot of angry public employees because the collective bargaining agreement authorizations are in there. They're already baked into the budget. We just need to authorize the money.
So what's the holdup, Jackie? What seems to be the conflict?
This is a good mystery question because it is another one of those not clear what's happening because the habit of this place has gotten really poor in the sense one finger points to the other finger and go talk to the other one. I don't find that acceptable. I'm hoping that leadership team will get out in front of this in the press and just flat out say this is what's been happening. I'm not entirely clear what's happening in terms of
okay. All right. Because I mean, the 250 million is just a small fraction of the 2.8 billion, but does that seem to be the sticking point, that piece of it?
And there's a couple of different sticking points, but I mean, as you also pointed out, the majority of that bill is just Medicare money.
Yeah.
The other part is collective bargaining. So a lot of that stuff is not new money. I think that's people got to be clear to understand. It's not new money. It's either federal money that's come in that has to be allocated, and then stuff that's already baked into the existing budget needs to be authorized. But also just moving money around. A big part, $500 million is just moving money that was unspent from last fiscal year.
Okay.
And just kind of reallocating it, going back to the general fund or whatever. It's got to be accounted somewhere. It basically is a reconciliation. Right?
Yep.
Let's call it a reconciliation. So, but I mean, there was this article where this Eric Soccer field that the Senate put
I read about that. Yeah.
Which I was like, are you kidding me? You put that in here? What's the Senate thinking? And then, on our side, we had some small bits too regarding, sheriff's salary adjustments and stuff, which also make my head scratch. Like, why are we messing with this stuff? So, but the shelter money is the biggest hurdle, it sounds like, because, the House is looking for greater accountability. We want reports. We want to only release money when conditions are met. We want money to use specific things like human services and permanent shelter solutions. The Senate side give them greater options, give more flexibility for the governor's office to make some decisions how to spend the money, which is I find remarkable given the fact that both branches are right now furious with the governor regarding how the migrant situation is being handled. I cannot find one member that's happy about how this is unfolding. And, but I also heard last night by the rumor mill that, the governor's furious that she's not getting the supplemental budget because they do need the money.
Right. Yeah. And again, as we've talked about here before, the feds need to step up here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of hope for that. I mean, the leadership team of both branches, as well as the governor's office, has talked to our federal delegation and fully aware of it. But I mean, even the Biden proposal in the Ukraine, Israel money did have a component to give states human service money to address the shelter issue. I think it was in the air like $1.2 or $4 billion. I mean, against 50 states, that's chump change.
Yeah.
they need to give us, each state, some in the area between 1 and 5 billion, depending on the size of your state. I mean, if you're like Texas, you're probably going to look at 5 to 10 billion.
Right.
Massachusetts, smallest state, probably close to 1 billion. I mean, but they really need to talk to the various states of what they're going to need in the upcoming fiscal year from the federal government, not just on shelters, but also like full-blown workforce programs, human services, healthcare, immunizations, which is a big deal. You don't understand how important immunization is regarding migrants. The healthcare in those places they come from are healthcare. I mean, they don't get measles shots for Pete's sakes. I mean,
Right. I was going to say they have nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, we stopped giving measles shots to kids, my understanding, like 20 years ago.
Right.
So, I mean, you got unvaccinated kids from measles and measles are coming in. I mean, we can't screw around here. So, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, the feds really do something comprehensive where you look like a giant state like California and Texas is sitting at the border of Mexico versus New York and Massachusetts, which is more up, upstream, so to speak, from the Mexican border. I mean, the feds should do a comprehensive review about, what's going on in the state and just allocate money. I mean, I wouldn't be offended if Texas got like $10 billion in human services stuff because, well, no kidding, right? I mean, well, Massachusetts maybe, over $1 billion because, not just because of the right to shelter, but also addressing the entire issue associated with the sudden influx of these migrants.
Right. Well, you hope if they have the resources at the border to deal with it, that may lessen the burden on further states north.
Well, it's again, we talk about this again over and over again. It's a humanitarian crisis, not a border security crisis, which people like to wave political flags and blame other folks. But I mean, when you literally just getting processed at the Mexican border, and then they say, "Here, go. You're good luck to you," and just send you off into like the street in the wilds, like releasing somebody into like the wild, saying, "Hey, here you go." They didn't do a health check. They didn't do working papers. They didn't do. Your kid's doing all right. Do you have seniors that have disabilities? I mean, that's being done at our level here in Massachusetts as soon as they get here. So, I mean, the feds literally just say, well, here's a temporary visa, good luck to you, and you just walk off. I mean, this is ludicrous.
Right. Yeah, it's like somebody from outer space landing here and just walking out and trying to figure out life.
Yeah, this is how the feds operate. We always talk about how one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing.
Yeah.
It's true, but I mean, don't even try to do a coordinated response with the state. So, I mean, that's one reason border states are upset with the feds, not just border states in the south, border states in the north too. Canadians, there's a lot of undocumented Canadians in the U.S. And they don't get a lot of communication either. Those border states are north and south, and the feds have like no interest in working with state and local, and in the case of places like Texas, county government. To come up with some kind of, humane solutions to real people that are in real danger and real need.
Yeah. One thing that has changed since we last talked, the federal government's not going to shut down for a little while again.
Well, I mean, and we might have a new Speaker of the House battle again soon.
Oh, that too.
I can't even name the guy anymore. I've been so tired this week. But yeah, I mean, not a big surprise to me. No one should be surprised as watching politics. They had to pass a continuing resolution. Didn't matter what it looked like, but it needed Democratic support.
Right.
All but 2 Democrats in the House voted for the continuing resolution for a 2-tiered system where they have phase out certain parts of the government regarding how long you get paid into early next year, January, February, which don't ask me how I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't get it. I'm not going to try to pretend I understand what's going on. I just know the politics is bad for whatever his name is, right?
I can't think of his name either, honestly, right now. It's changed so often in the past couple of months.
So there were so many candidates, but I mean, now he's in the same boat that McCarthy found himself into.
Right.
He didn't pass a continuing resolution, and 94 Republicans voted against him. So, all it takes is one of them to upset the apple cart, so to speak. And now you already know you got 94 against. You're going to the caucus trying to save yourself. So, yeah, this could be enough.
Basically, here's the can, kick it down the road again.
Yeah, and this ugly can is the speaker in the case in D.C. So he might have some. He could be getting coal in his stocking, and it'd be a different way of singing 12 Days to Christmas. Given how they do their leadership battles in the Republican caucus down there. So I wouldn't be surprised if, any of them decide they're just going to take this guy out due to no confidence or force a leadership battle again in December. I wouldn't be surprised at all because this is nothing different than McCarthy did.
No, exactly right. Yeah. And he saw that. He saw the writing on the wall and, sacrificed himself basically.
Yeah, this guy basically had no other choice but to do the same freaking thing. So it's the same position that McCarthy did. I have a hard time not seeing the same outcome.
Stay tuned for that.
It's election cycle. People do not like the government shutting down during election cycles.
Yes, no, that's true. Exactly right. Yeah, because that has an impact back at home for sure. Hey, let's talk about the governor announcing the free tuition for state college students.
Yeah, we put a pilot together about $25 million or so for community colleges to allow persons 25 age and older who have a high school or equivalent to be able to go to community college for free. The rough count was about 25 million, and the governor didn't really have a program implementation plan at the time, but we gave the authorization for to come up with something. So it's good to see they've put together a program. And we'll see how it unfolds. If it turns to be very popular and it's a successful program, then obviously we'll like to continue it. If it proves to not be as successful or as people take advantage of it, then obviously we'll reevaluate the situation. But
yeah,
these kind of things is not a one-time review. You can't just go in and say, look, I'm going to look at this one time and one moment snapshot and make a determination. I mean, these are multi-year reviews. So you already don't see the outcome of this stuff for probably like at least 3 years.
Yeah, is this part of the millionaires tax funding, Jackie?
We already included this as part of baseline budget.
Okay.
Try and remember because the way they did the millionaires tax was kind of funky on how they allocated it. So they intentionally try to allocate the million tax money as outside of baseline.
Okay.
Meaning it's not part of essential.
Okay. All right. Because that's going to fluctuate, I guess, right?
That is the huge concern we have with the millionaire's tax.
Yep.
If there's a fluctuation and you make it as part of core essential as opposed to like, it'd be nice to have, you have problems. And we're going to be seeing that soon because the millionaire tax is not looking like it's going to work out well for FY24 right now.
Oh.
Yeah, the revenues have seen this down. Cap gains in particular is down a lot. There's rumors going around about whether the governor is going to implement 9C cuts next year, which is where the governor gets to cut the budget with consensus between the House Ways and Means, Senate Ways and Means, and the A&F office and the Treasury. They all agree that this is the new revenue adjustment number. Generally, A&F makes that determination. Administration Finance Secretary is going to make that determination. No one's going to fight it anyway. What the new revenue adjustment number is, and she has the ability to cut the budget, as in response to the deficit. Size of deficit they determine on the new estimates. So, we've done this before. Baker's done it a few times. No one ever notices until they, I say it out loud because no one thinks about it. But Baker's done it. Been around for Deval Patrick doing it. Been around for Mitt Romney doing it. So it's not new to me. But we'll see. I mean, it's still Christmas season. Sales tax is a big part of Christmas. Sales and meals tax, so that's very important. A revenue season. I don't expect great car sales. I do not see great car sales coming up. I think the loan rates are still too high, despite the most recent reductions on the 30-year bond. I don't think it's going to cause consumers to rush and buy cars.
No, I think you're right. And with the auto workers contract agreement, some pretty significant pay increases that may translate into the cost of a new car too.
Yeah, congratulations UAW. Obviously, that's the SAG contract hasn't been approved yet.
Right.
Which billions of dollars in salary increases and collectively for everybody. That's a good thing. However, the cost has to be passed along somewhere.
Yep.
You can only do so much so-called efficiencies in operations to cover it. But people have got higher car prices they've ever seen, largely because again, part shortage or part slowdown on parts coming in, and that's a big part of it. Now. To back up again, there's going to be an inventory issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm aware that the big three had stockpiled a lot of cars in anticipation strike. However, cars are still being sold, just not the same volume. So at some point there'll be an inventory problem coming up down the road.
Yeah. Might give foreign competition a leg up, depending.
Well, also, there's also non-union cars, right? I mean, you heard the Mansfield plant, Stellantis plant's going to close in 2025.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a response to the strike or it's part of the fact that they're anticipating revenue shortfalls from lack of sales, but they're going to do massive employee relocation if they so desire. So I think that is the only union. I think it may be the only union car manufacturing plant in Massachusetts.
There used to be one in Framingham. I don't know if that's gone or not.
I think that's gone. I think it's Mansfield. I think someone can correct me, but I think that's the case.
Yeah.
That's going to close, I think, in 2025. So, but I mean, like Tesla, a lot of the foreign car manufacturers are not unionized in the United States. Tesla in particular, of all of them, because one of the reasons the foreign car manufacturers have not unionized is because they're able to offer competitive benefits.
Yeah.
The unions will try to promise people organize in those areas if the companies able to offer compatible, even better offers. You put up, why would you pay dues, right? It's common sense for people. But Tesla in particular is the one that's going to be the next big target for the UAW because it's the biggest market cap company out there, and in the massive global reach. And I mean, the dude can build spaceships off the money from Tesla. So, that's going to that's going to be the next real challenge. Then Tesla not being unionized and not facing these guaranteed wage adjustments, which puts into the price of the car.
Right.
Will continue to keep reducing the prices, but it also reduces the margins of their profits.
Yeah.
Tesla's going to become less a premium car as time goes along if they want to remain competitive, especially as VW goes into full gear, which is the biggest car manufacturer on the planet. It's VW. So they're going full gear electric in 2025. And, because the EU is going to require 100% electrification far ahead of the US. But cars are different, U.S. and Europe. I mean, size, number of roads, they have a whole different system in Europe. It's not like us here. We're very car obsessed,
right?
But less so in Europe. So I mean, there's a lot of. Stay tuned, folks. The car industry issues are going to be coming up full force in 2024. And there's going to be huge shakeups in 2025. Again, I don't see a massive benefit to state on car excise sales. I just don't see it coming up. Because President's Day weekend is the next big car sale weekend. I just don't see massive demand.
So if the governor does make cuts, how does that translate into state services?
Well, this is the tricky part. So a lot of local agencies that are state assisted or state funded, depending on the ratio between the state and not-for-profit agency, are going to find themselves in a lurch because they've already committed their budget to do X number of services for X number of people over X period of time. So as a result, there's this 9C cut. The local not-for-profit either has to cut services or find new money.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking places like here in Quincy, QCAP is a big one, right?
That's the big one. The other one is like Work Inc. or
yep.
Similar adult day programs.
State community services, I know. Yeah.
Yep. And that's where the governor's people need to get a very good understanding of human services. If they go that direction, right? Could be the same thing with workforce development, right? We have programs that have public, private employers to do workforce training, private employers do different types of if they participate in these programs for job training, human resource training, and things like that the state provides. If they so want to help pay for it themselves, we will help pay for it. Right? Those programs can be cut, right? It can really be a broad range. I mean, she doesn't have to cut 10% on every agency.
I see.
You can just pick and choose each one and cut here and there. This includes things like prostate cancer research, one of my favorite things I like to pick on, which tends to be ignored by every governor, which I do not understand why that they want to cut prostate cancer research, but it tends to be a favorite target for some reason, which I still do not understand.
That's discrimination against men, right?
I just find it baffling. In all my years in this gig, it's the one I always scratch my head about that the governor's office keeps fighting about not funding prostate cancer research. I just don't get it. Didn't know governor, any administration, same problem. I just don't. Yeah, it is like a universal thing in all government administrations. Like Patrick Zero funded prostate cancer research, which again, dude, why?
Well, this is the first elected female governor, so maybe it'll be different.
No, she cut $500,000 in line and veto. We had to restore it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it won't be different.
Yeah, you all know the thing that I have a self-interest in this matter.
Well, I've known several men who've died from prostate cancer that I used to work with.
I have a relative that has it now, and in stage 4, and we'll see how it goes from there. So, yeah, I mean, it's a real thing for men, and as much as people like to joke about this, but definitely be checked by your doctor. It's like a part of our routine screening, among other forms of diseases that honestly will creep up and kill you if you don't pay attention. So
For sure. It's a simple blood test. Do it for sure. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I always, if you're able to, or not able to, I'm like, again, the annual health check. Again, I know healthcare is hard to schedule, but remind folks definitely do it. And we all like to make fun of some of this stuff, but it is serious business in terms of our health. And this is why it's also important on the public. If you want to think macro policy, I mean, every person that gets their regular screenings, regular health checks, and they catch, God forbid, you get something, whatever it is, to catch it early enough, it actually puts less strain on the healthcare system long term.
That's right. Treatment is much less invasive and much more successful. Yeah.
Early prevention reduces the strain on healthcare and your insurance costs and our Medicare, Medicaid costs down the road. So the more that people can address things like annual check, health check, regular dental visits, regular eye check, if they find something that needs to be addressed, that can be done non-invasively, through diet, exercise, physical therapy, even therapists, mental health.
Mhm.
Without using prescription drugs, if possible. That is a reduction on the cost on your health insurance, as well as the public as health insurance as well. And also, you want to be around for your family, which is also important. It reduces the stress level in your families.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the same concept with home healthcare. Keep people in their homes as long as possible. It's more cost effective.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So, I mean, as we shift from a somewhat comedic tacky to a very serious tack in this matter, it's very true. And as we're reaching the end of a year, a lot of insurance benefits tend to expire. They probably have not had a chance to utilize. And, people, particularly holiday season, sadly, a lot of people pass away or become very ill during the holiday season. And with flu and COVID and RSV and shingles and everything else floating around, it's not just COVID, it's a lot of other things. As you can hear from my voice. It's important for folks to, now look into next year regarding their health checks. And again, it's a lot of stress in the holidays, and stress also causes, poor results in health. And we've had a tough several years, everybody. We've all been through a tough same situation. There's no reason to go, crazy, so to speak, to causing you a lot of stress in the holidays, and try to get family to share the stress. And I know that's hard for some folks who want to feel like, they're the person in the family has to make things happen. But I mean, it's also good for your health to try to reduce your stress levels during the holiday season. As all families are trying to manage a lot of things happening in their homes, and also want keep their loved ones happy. I get that, I do, but take it from a guy who doesn't always take the best care of himself. As people see me over the many years now, looking like something a cat dragged in. Even I've started, and now again I'm restarting a lot of my own choosiness, I think is the way to put on trying to get to events and try to address my own health issues. I've been exercising more, watching my diet. I mean, paying more attention to my own mental health, particularly now that the sun's going down. I need to, and of course, I got my own family issues like all of you do. So trying to, get that life balance going. So, like I said, the holiday season, because of the stress levels in families, often results in higher healthcare problems. And sadly, a lot more wakes in December and January.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true. We usually end up talking a little bit about the economy on this program, and it's looking less likely the Fed's going to raise rates again this year.
No, you're absolutely right. I thought there'd be a December rate here at 0.25%. That is not going to happen. The CPI came in 0.1% below expectation, close to 3. Core CPI continues to be very sticky. We're not dipped below 4. But again, down 0.1%. The production stuff, the cost of doing business, the PPI, also was down again very significantly against estimates. Wage inflation, I've not seen yet. Those numbers are on the way. And then you have, but the jobs for opening per individual still remains at 1.5 job openings per individual. So you got this really ironic problem where inflation is still sticky. 4% core, 3% CPI is still not good. And then you had like the last quarterly GDP at near 5%. So you got this real, again, we're still running a very warm economy with unemployment under 4%. You have inflation, particularly core inflation, which is not including energy and housing, at 4%. And wage inflation, again, we're waiting for that number. And then GDP means the economy is still exporting and importing heavily. But consumer confidence have dipped below 65%, according to Chicago Index, which means that we've reached the lowest level of consumer confidence since COVID.
I read that, yeah.
And you have $1 trillion in credit card debt, which has not been paid off yet. Plus, we have savings accounts dropping below $200 million. But the saving account thing is a little bit deceptive, I think, because as we talked before, people have been moving the money into money markets and bonds.
Yes.
Which is not a savings. CDs is not a savings, right? This is money that's on hand. But, you look at some of the other reports coming out. I mean, it's like 35% of all Americans did not have $1,000 available for emergencies. It is very wacky the statistics when you think about it, right? Strong economy, not enough money, super high debt for consumers. Forget about the government for the moment. Just normal people debt is super high collectively. Student loan impact is going to be felt in December and January because they recheck their finances. Service use is high. Durable goods are low. People are still doing like restaurants and now trips, but durable good purchase like TV and cars are low. And then Expedia and bookings are giving mixed results about future travel because generally people don't, spontaneously travel. It's expensive. So people plan for trips. One company says that it's strong, the other company says it's weak. And airline bookings for 3 months out is wicked low now. So, and gas prices are now stable.
Right. It is wacky. You're right. I read an analyst the other day saying that he thinks folks are waiting for prices to go back down to pre-COVID levels, and he doesn't think that's ever going to happen. I
agree with that. That is very unrealistic to happen. I think people are expectations regarding how to stretch your money is here already. I don't think we should sit around and think that they can spend money and this is the best it gets, so to speak. I just don't see that. I mean, food inflation legit is down, but wage inflation is keeping food prices up. The person stocking or the grocery market is the reason why you're paying more on your eggs and cheese as opposed to the actual dairy industry, which has actually gone down on the wholesale.
Yeah, it's called corporate greed, folks. Corporate greed. Yeah.
There's a bit of that. But certain industries have different margins, right? Restaurants have very poor margins.
That's true. Very thin margins, yeah.
So the person stocking the restaurant means Cisco. So the wholesale price goes to Cisco. Cisco has fuel costs. They have to pay higher wages, which is passed on to the restaurant, which then also has its own wage increases because you all know that hourly wage workings increase on its own, which then translates to the bill on your tab when you buy something. It's this whole wage. The wage thing is really an issue because it has its own chain effect. And now, again, we talked about this with the car industry. It's eventually those wages going to have to build into the price of the cars. And unemployment is probably going to shift down because the unemployment numbers you see most recent October was a result of layoffs from car industry folks. Any industry that had an ancillary component to the car industry because of the linked to the strike resulted in massive layoffs. Same thing happened with the film industry, California in particular, and New York in particular, but also Massachusetts, but especially the two mega size, well, actually three, Georgia is now two, the mega size film industry states, monster layoffs. And the actor strike is going to continue to string those layoffs along as those ancillary industries like food services, makeup services, hairstyling, costume design, set design, and that includes things like buying wood, because of set design. I mean, this is a ripple effect from that industry, which I always like to talk about that in Massachusetts, but places like California, which is a major part of the economy, it affects their employment numbers too because of massive layoffs. So the unemployment number could, with entity strikes, maybe we see the December, January unemployment numbers, we could be back to like 3.5%, down from 3.9, which then, of course, creates another continual problem. In fact, there's too many jobs and not enough people.
Right.
So, I mean, stay tuned. I don't think the story is written regarding this post-COVID economy or the COVID impact economy.
It does seem to be a kind of a delayed reaction. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's all delayed because the impact of the interest rate hikes, it's not felt for at least 1 year to 18 months.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of talking heads out there talking about, this is over and things like that. And they may not be wrong. However, I mean, everyone's looking at snapshots of data, and none of us can see the future. So, I think as consumers, I think you should continue to look at high yield savings bonds and high yield savings accounts to maximize the interest of money you're trying to save for a rainy day. And
what did the farmer always say? Make hay while the sun shines.
well, it's not going to last forever.
Right.
And Wall Street, is projecting out surveys at 6 to 8%. I think something like that. They think rate cuts would happen in May. But the Federal Reserve has consistently said higher rates for longer, and don't bet against the Fed. I mean, I don't think these surveys mean a whole lot, to be honest with you.
I think you're right. And the Fed's not elected, so they do what they want.
They do what they want, but there's a rotation coming. There are, most people don't realize the Federal Reserve is composed of a lot of members, the heads of different Fed banks around the country, and the voting members rotate.
Oh, okay.
So another rotation is coming on voting members, which is healthy for the Fed, actually.
Yeah.
We don't always want the same people voting, but even though they're not voting members, those non-voting members actually do participate in the debate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting.
So it's not like they're non-influential. They do participate in the conversation debate. So we'll see early December 2nd is the next commentary by the Fed Reserve.
Yep.
Into February. So unless something happens. So, but I mean, there's a lot of geopolitics, right? We talk about the tragedy in the Middle East with the war of Israel against Hamas. Ukraine has gone to a stalemate war with the Russians. The unstoppable grain movement, because again, it's not impacts our wheat prices, but it's life or death struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Russian and Ukrainian wheat down into those poor regions and in Africa, but even a fairly modern. I have a lot of I mean, a modern country like Egypt, it depends on 60% of its grain imports from Ukraine in particular, and there's a different type of humanitarian crisis, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Myanmar's out of control. I met with the Taiwanese new director of the Taiwanese director of the Economic Development Trade Office from Taiwan yesterday. It was one of my meetings, and just it was a meet and greet, get to know each other kind of thing.
Nice.
There's that looming shadow there. I mean, Taiwan is, he reminded me that Taiwan is a top 10 trade partner of Massachusetts.
With Massachusetts, really?
Top 10 trading partner of Massachusetts. So if something happens to Taiwan, it actually has enormous impact on our economy.
Wow. What do we trade with Taiwan?
Medical, high-tech equipment, education, a lot of our standard exports. We also export a lot of organic fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Well, so I mean, yeah, a large part of Massachusetts is agriculture. People forget, we live here in the urban areas, but it's just a small part of the state.
Yeah, Taiwan's a huge food importer too. If you look at the geography, there's a lot of mountains there. So small island, lots of mountains. I mean, food import is not unusual, and they do export tropical fruits. But
okay,
our tropical fruits actually come from South America.
Yeah. I see the stickers for Chile, especially. Yeah,
just easy. Yes, odd as it sounds, easier to move it up from South America than flying something over the Pacific.
Yeah, I get that. Sure.
Yeah.
Can we talk about something a little bit lighter? The changing of the state seal, Tacky.
Yeah, you mean we had a great time, $100,000, and we got no answer.
You got nothing. Yeah.
Don't even start me on this one.
Yeah, it's like they threw their hands up in the air and said, "Over to you."
Fine. I say you don't start me on this one. They're going to start me on this one.
Oh, well, I figure we pick a good one at the end of the show here.
Yeah. I get it. I think we all understand what the issue of the seal is. But as the report kind of reveals, it's a little more complicated than people think. People oversimplify this. There's a legit history and respect associated with the creation of the seal, even though you may not respect it today.
Right.
This is kind of the historical context where times do change, and I agree, things change with times. However, a lot of folks feel they don't like it now, but they never look at the larger context. And as the commission looked at the larger context, the historical method, there's a lot more to the story than it sounds.
Yeah, you can't erase what happened. It did happen. It is truth.
It is truth, and I mean that's what they reveal. So there's a great understanding of history of the SEAL now, and there's a long history of what you're trying to get to, and what you find inoffensive today, and we're both of us old enough now, particularly with things like words and symbols, maybe offensive to someone 20 years down the road as times change,
right.
But it raises the historical context of why it wasn't offensive today. So if you're one of those folks that, hey, well, this is offensive, I promise you that whatever you like as a symbol today, somewhere 25,000 years road, you're going to be coming this conversation like us, like, you don't understand. And that's again, this is called age, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been around a while. So, I do pay attention to a lot of things, and some things should go by the wayside.
Yeah.
But we also tend to forget. And that's why I was a little troubled by things like historical monuments, right? People feel it's offensive, so we have to destroy it. Okay, I get the offensiveness, but I mean, do you know why it was built? Do you know how come it was built? Do you know the context of it? Do you understand, even discussing racism, do you know why they did it? Why is it racist? If you don't see the racism, then it's not racism.
Right.
You don't see discrimination, not discrimination. You don't see the oppression, it's not depression. Part of some of our history is not pleasant, and there's symbols of this history, and they may not belong in a public forum. Maybe they belong in a more private museum situation.
Mm-hmm.
Stories to be told, to be a lesson of why we don't like this anymore.
Right. Well, right. That's the deeper, delve into it. They're both valid at their times.
That's correct. And human nature is interesting. My observation of life that, I don't like it. We should not look at it.
Yeah.
Well, that means you don't see it. It doesn't exist, and if it doesn't exist, it's not relevant, so it doesn't matter. I'll spin this again to an Asian component, because why not, right? I mean, people, you can look this up with folks. Look at the death of Vincent Chin. Almost minimal information on an individual, Chinese individual, murdered by two Caucasians in Detroit, mistaken for being Japanese, even though it was Chinese, because of the decline in competition of the car industry, because the Japanese first time decided to compete against the big three. And it was not root of hate crime, and the sentencing for that situation was probation and a fine, basically second-degree murder. And the U.S. government could not get their act together or put the effort in for a civil rights investigation twice, as well as the state government. So, but that's, again, I tell you a story. You can look it up yourself, but you find how little information there is. It didn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Mm.
That's a tragic story. And it's not in our history books. Again, this is a topic of ethnic history studies, need more about our histories in different groups in the United States.
Right.
Not just tragedies, but also successes, right? I mean, a lot of Asian American issues are not heard of. For example, the first professional basketball player in the NBA is Japanese.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. People didn't know that, right? A lot of the first military positions of women in California, they're always in California, because the largest population are women, Chinese and Japanese. No one wants to talk about them. So again, if you don't exist, if you don't look at it, both good and bad. And you don't show what oppression looks like to people. People tend to do stuff not realizing that doing the same stupid as somebody did before. Hence the recurring theme that we're constantly talking about it like it's brand new. It's not. It's been here. It's just that you chose to ignore it as opposed to learning the lesson that's there. And burying your head in the sand or keeping your eyes closed doesn't make things go away.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, the SEAL is more complex than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I get it. People are offended by it today, but there's a context to the past. And you feel like you're on the right, but I'm going to tell you in about 25 years, people are going to tell you you're wrong. You're going to be all offended now, too. I mean, I've reached that stage, as you can tell. It's like, it's hard to offend me. I've been doing this too long. So, but yeah, I mean, that's part of age.
It's, well, we can only hope that we learn as we go, and you never stop learning, no matter how old you get. That's for sure.
Well, that's the hope I have for everyone. We can't learn it all. I fully admit to that. But there's always a unique opportunity. But if you hide things from people that could learn, all you're really doing is hurting future generations.
Yeah, exactly. Depriving them of that knowledge, right?
And what to do, like, not to do, like, burning hand in the stove. You tell other people not to burn their hand in the stove, but you don't tell anybody the stove is hot. People are going to burn their hand.
That's right. That's right. We'll leave that for food for thought. And speaking of, next week is Thanksgiving, Jackie.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I know the North Quincy High football game on BC High. I take no sides in this matter. I'm a neutral party as a BC High guy. However, most of my constituents come from Quincy High. That is not lost on. And of course, the Just Parade's also on the coming Sunday. I've now become weather dependent as the longer age. I'm not lying to you guys. It's like a 4-mile walk, and I'm like weather dependent about what my mood is that day. But I'm doing Thanksgiving this Saturday because of a series of scheduling problems of all our various family members and those that are driving up from Connecticut and other parts. And we adopt some friends whose families they can't go home to their families. It's
nice.
Since I was in college, I used to always adopt friends to come over for Thanksgiving, even it's just not exactly the most exciting Thanksgiving day, but I mean, something went on the table. We just had a good time. So I'm in charge of dinner again this Saturday.
Okay.
Once I get up this call, I'm doing 2 solid days of prep and 1 full day of cooking. I'll be in the mood, people. Just to let you all know, I'll be in a mood. But it'll be fun. I do enjoy cooking, as you all know, but I'm cooking for over 12 people by myself.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Dessert, appetizers, all of it. So, a lot of meal planning going on this past week or plus. As I'm trying to figure out how to do the logistics where everything comes out hot at the same time. The electric bill is going to be high. And food bill is going to be high.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about inflation. I'm paying for this meal. I'm not just cooking it. I'm paying for this thing. This better be appreciated by family. Otherwise, I might, start to lose it. I spent a lot of money. A lot of money's been spent. A lot of money. I'll take some pictures. The money's been spent. More money is going to get spent in the next 2 days. Trying to get a whole meal plan in place. As I'm working this out. So, but I know a lot of people doing Thanksgiving next week is one of the most busiest travel days of the year. So please be safe. Again, I really encourage vaccinations, but if you don't, please mask up in crowded areas and airports. This COVID plus the flu plus RSV is just roaming around like mad. So again, if I do encourage vaccinations, but if you don't feel like you're going to do that, well, please just mask up and use a hair sanitizer. Get those sanitizers out and try to be safe and be well as you travel to see your families, or try not to lose it as you're prepping Thanksgiving meal. So depending on where you are, I hope you are the one receiving the food, not the one preparing.
So we'll take a break for next week, so you'll have time to prepare. We'll catch up the week after.
I'll see. Yeah, that means we'll see you in the month of December, most likely.
That's right. Be looking for you in the parade, Jackie.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
You may see me do the way by, you may not, but I'll make a game time decision on how I feel. But yeah, this Saturday, don't bother. This rest of this week and Saturday do not bother me. And next week is like recovery from trying to get through Saturday.
All right. So we should not give out your contact information then, because you're not going to talk to people.
No, the staff is still there. So
okay.
My staff's like, I don't know if they watch this sometimes. I hope they don't. So 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370 is the phone number. Tacky.chan@mahouse.gov. You guys know the drill on that one at this point. I do read my emails and I do prioritize your emails. And I do try to address emails first that people need, more so than policy issues, which get categorized and logged by myself and the staff. State Representative Tacky Chan Facebook. I think we should have some new pictures of me up there with some folks from this week. And then we have the state website, MWaylegislature.gov, MWaylegislature.gov. You can watch the sessions, they're all recorded. You can watch the public hearings are recorded. You can look up the bills on your own. Have an inquiry about a bill, you can find those on the website. So it is actually friendlier, sort of user friendlier now. I think there's some minor tweaks here and there. TakiChan.org, you probably should find it in a Google search. That's more of a reference page than anything else, as we continue to update phone numbers and contacts and pictures. And of course, join us, me and Joel, on QA TV every week or every 2 weeks or so to talk about important state house issues or national issues, or just want to talk.
That's right. Exactly. Thank you so much, Jackie. To you, your family, your staff, very happy, healthy Thanksgiving.
You too, Joe. Have a fun Thanksgiving period. And again, I wish everyone well. And I forgot. I mean, thank you to Veterans Day. I forgot to mention that. Thank you to our veterans. And also, happy Diwali, celebration of lights by Indian community, as well as heading into the Thanksgiving period.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Be well.
Take care.